Hello and welcome to another episode of FinTech Focus TV with me, Toby. Today I am very excited to bring you one of the most listened to episodes of 2021. It's the star of that show, Amrish, and he is joined today by Chirag over at Commcise. How are you both? You well?
Fantastic. Thank you so much for having us, Toby.
Listen, great to have you back on the show, Amrish, and Chirag, lovely to meet you as well. We've got a really interesting show to come up with today. We've got loads of different things to talk about. A really high-performing culture that you guys have created all over the world, which I'm really fascinated by. But before we do that, can you give us a little bit of an intro to both of yourselves and your backgrounds, but also then talk about Commcise and what you guys are up to at the moment?
Yeah, why don't I? Yeah. I'll go first then.
Yeah.
So my name's Amrish Ganatra, and I am the CEO of Commcise. We're a software vendor that provides technology solutions to asset managers, to brokers, and to research providers. And in essence, we're trying to help all three parties become more transparent with the way they work together. So ultimately, we're providing technology where each party can work with the other in the most transparent way we possibly can. We are grateful to have an incredible host of clients who have helped us along this journey over the number of years. And we have an incredible team across the globe that's helped us deliver these products and services to our clients. We're joined here by Chirag, who is the CEO of Euronext Solutions. Let me just hand over to him, and then he can talk you through a bit about the journey as well.
Thanks, Amrish. Thank you for having me, Toby. And to introduce myself, my name is Chirag, and I'm CEO of Euronext Solutions, which was formerly Commcise India. And just to talk a little bit about our history, I joined Commcise in November 2016, along with Amrish and other co-founders. We incepted the India Center. And very recently, we completed 5 years of our presence in India. And I must say that it's been an amazing journey so far. We have grown from 4 to 40 plus, and I'm just looking forward to it. Many more years.
Fantastic, and I think that you talked there about that sort of growth, and it's brilliant to see. It's been a lot of change and a lot of growth from the company. I remember Amrish, speaking very early stages with you about the company, and to see it sort of develop over this time has been fantastic. We've spoken before about the sort of special ingredients that you guys have put together with it, but it's a company now that's grown all over the world. You're in 4 countries. With that, there's great opportunities, obviously, but there's also challenges that maintain about keeping a unified culture and allowing and sustaining that sort of growth at a time there where we've obviously had a hell of a lot of change over the last 18 months, 2 years or so. Still through that, there's been growth and innovation and acceleration, which you guys have talked about on the show before. But with it, I love seeing companies thrive, and I love looking behind that and sort of taking apart the engine to work out how that's happened. I think that one of the things that we've seen from you is you've just been listed in the Financial Technologist as a top 1% workplace, which is fantastic news. But there's a lot that goes behind that, and there's been a lot of work that allows that to happen. Tell us a little bit about your culture and how you've maintained it as you've seen exponential growth all over the world.
Well, I mean, I think in terms of culture, we have this firm belief that we are who we are. We are successful at what we do because of the team that we've built. It's 100% down to the people in the company that have helped us on this journey. And so we feel like it's an incredible wasted opportunity if we don't allow each person to contribute, irrespective of where they are in the globe. So we don't have a UK culture, we don't have a US culture, we don't have an Indian culture, we have a people-centric culture. We have a culture where we are one team. And whether you're in India working the US shift at 3 a.m. in the morning, if we see somebody struggling in another part of the world, we will do whatever it takes to support that individual, wherever they are, deliver what they need to deliver, because it's not just a them and us. In the organization, we have zero politics in Commcise, which is sort of unheard of. I appreciate, at the moment we're still only 50 people in the firm, but nevertheless, having zero politics is not a trivial, challenge to try and solve for. And we didn't go out trying to think, how do we build an organization with zero politics? But it just so transpired that building an organization with the culture that we have results in zero politics. Chirag, what would you say are part of the sort of strengths of our culture?
I guess the one point what Amrish made, that we actually did not go out to explicitly try to build a culture with zero politics. It's just the framework, what we have laid out is naturally transitioning into that. And one of the most important aspects I have to say, it's about the transparency and trust, what we have built over here. See, it's really very important for us to let our employees, our people, to be open about their challenges, their vulnerabilities, right? They should be comfortable in talking about their weaknesses, their fears, the mistakes. And once you do that, then that helps to build that transparency in the culture. That helps to establish a bond between the employees wherein they can trust each other. And once you have trust and transparency, there is no scope of any relativism. It's naturally going to transit to that. And you know how this also helps? Because when they trust each other, they're going to help out each other to be a better version of what they are. So that itself feels like a great culture. And then you do not need any of your employees to be managed. Everything is natural.
And when you've got a business there, Chirag, that's grown extensively out in India, I know it's now 80% of the business is out in India, and you've got you know, it was a UK founded business, and there's obviously you know, offices out in the States and beyond. You're there and you're building that, inheriting that sort of culture from Europe effectively. How's that maintained, and how do you keep that sort of connectivity, particularly with, you know, everything that's been going on over the last couple of years? How's that been sort of accepted, and how do you keep that sort of continuity, as I say, going across all areas, all continents?
So again, I'll circle back to what Amrish said. It's not that we have to embrace what's there in Europe. It's like what is there around people. It's about people-centric. So it doesn't matter whether they are in Europe or whether they are in India. Yeah. So it's, of course, it's always good to have a FaceTime, which was much easier in the pre-pandemic phase. In the post-pandemic, again, I would say because of this people-centric culture, we did not see that much of challenges.
Yeah.
So but I'd also highlight, I was going to say, I'd also highlight the fact that I don't think Chirag's inherited a European culture, right? I think Chirag, myself, and the other leaders in Commcise have built the Commcise culture together. We've learned over the last 5 years what works. We've learned what doesn't work. And many of the things that work are effectively borrowed from the Indian culture. Many of the things that work, again, also come from the US or UK culture. And we've blended those things into a melting pot, which is the sort of Commcise Euronext culture now that we've embraced in the organization. So I don't want any of our listeners here to think, you know, whilst we've been founded in the UK, everyone in the organization thinks like a Brit. So that's not the case. Half of our clients are US-based clients. And, you know, one of the things we realize is that irrespective of who the client is, every client wants to feel like they're being listened to. Because every client is a partner of ours, right? We are fortunate to have every single client, and we learn from every single client. The software has evolved through every single client, helping us understand their problems in a better way. And we do what we love doing, which is use technology to solve problems.
Yeah.
But when we do that and we help our clients improve the way they work, they get incredibly excited and they become more loyal and they become better partners of ours. So that client centricity is so deeply founded in the core of what we do. I'll give you an example. We have 2,000 plus research providers who give us data every single day to help our buy-side clients value the sell side. Now, very early on, maybe in 2017 or 18, I used to get incredibly frustrated when we'd have some research provider from maybe Singapore shouting at Chirag and the team saying, why can't I do this? Why can't I do that? And I would say to Chirag, listen, I'm not going to have anyone anywhere in the world ever shouting at our team. I will not tolerate that. And Chirag said, listen, they're a customer of ours, right? If they're shouting at us, there's something that they're not understanding. And we just need to understand, you know, what's their problem, and we'll help them fix it, irrespective of whether they're paying us or not for our software. You can imagine all of these research providers, they're giving us data to help our buy-side clients, but they don't pay us. You know, we don't earn any money from them. But Chirag has always had that mindset where the customer is really at the core of what we do, and helping that customer with their journey is part of our success. Sorry, Chirag.
You go back to I love the way that dovetails. That you go back to reading anything about Virgin in particular, where they talk about that, and they say look after your team and create a great workplace environment for your team with that sort of central purpose, and then the team will by nature then do a better job for your customers. And I think that sort of client-centric core, with everyone knowing that they're doing something different that helps, is helping change something. There's a purpose behind everything, which is so important to creating a culture which gets that buy-in and that engagement with it, because culture is seen in so many different ways by so many different people. Is it the office party and everyone going a bit crazy and hanging out together all the time, or is it actually something bigger than that, which is about how you interact, how you feel about your day job, how you perform on a different level? And I think it's far more about how people feel and the power that they're giving at any sort of stage, and that's where it comes from. Without question, there's a combination of two about making sure you've got that sort of tribal cultural bond, but the same sort of stage, it's about what does that actually mean and how you're moving through it. And I know you guys are very good as well about making sure that people are empowered in the business, and that people aren't just there as nodding dogs or anything like that. Chirag, maybe tell us a little bit about how you bring that to life.
Empowerment. That's quite a powerful word, right? It's all about empowering your employees, and when you have that trust, I don't see any reason that why you cannot empower your employees to take their own decisions. But one thing, what I personally feel, or what we have learned over the period, it's because when you're a startup, you're growing, you need to define a framework. And then you can ask all your employees that, okay, you are completely empowered to take your own decisions, but within a defined framework. You would want them to be creative, imaginative, and give them that freedom so that they can determine their own path. It's like you can tell them, okay, this is a vision where we want to go, but you determine on your own what's the best path to reach to that particular vision. And that's all about empowerment. And you can only empower your employees once you have that trust and transparency. Unless you have that, that's a prerequisite for this empowerment. So there's no point talking about empowerment unless you have that in place. And as Amrish said that, over these last 5 years, all our global stakeholders and our clients, they have started perceiving us in a new light altogether, something they hadn't experienced before with the offshore firms. And I'm sure Amrish would have an example to share, because when we talked about way back in November 2016, Amrish and other co-founders had their own apprehensions about starting the center in India. We talked about it. And I'm sure that we would have changed that. We have been able to change that perception. So Amrish, why don't you just talk about that example? I'm sure that's going to help the viewers.
Yeah, absolutely. Before building Commcise, we built a consulting business. And as part of that consulting business, we tried to partner with various offshore providers to help develop software, to help provide other services. And every single one of those attempts failed. And they failed because that outsourced provider didn't have the same vision as we did. Their goals and their ambitions weren't aligned to ours because they were just another outsourced function, right? So as part of us building the team in India for Commcise, it was imperative that we hired our own people in India. It was imperative that we had an incredible leader in Chirag, effectively leading from the front, leading by example. And like I said, if it wasn't for our ability to grow the culture within Commcise together across geographies, I think we'd have been, I don't think we'd have been as successful as we are today. It's because Chirag and the team took the time and effort to understand that we want them to have a voice, right? We don't want just people in India who say yes to everything, which was always the challenge that we suffered. With the outsourced providers we worked with, the natural default answer is, yes, I can do it, right? Without really knowing that you're going to be letting us down if you can't do it. And we try so hard. Chirag and all of our team in India are empowered to come back and say, no, we can't do this. Here's the reason why, but here's what we can do instead. Here's a better way of doing that. And rather than just being the people who say yes all the time, we want every person to have the ability to influence the direction of what we, where we're going and how we deliver our services.
I think that's so important, isn't it? That you sort of spoke about this in the last time we shot an episode when you were dealing with Alan there. I think there's a very strong connectivity between the leadership group. You mentioned there about the importance of having the right man in there, and Chirag, you must be blushing a little bit from the kind words there for
yes, I'm so grateful to hear all this.
But it's absolutely important, and if you're talking about a great team and a great culture and a great business and a top 1% workplace, that starts from the top, and it's about having a leadership team that work seamlessly together and put the traits in place that allow the rest of the business to thrive from it. So with regards to that, and looking at some of the sort of traits that you guys see in creating a strong leadership team that's allowed the business to thrive, what are some of the things that you've worked on there as a team?
Well, actually, maybe before we go into that, what makes a leader in Commcise? How about we flip the table on you, Toby?
This
now,
is the if you look gamekeeper, right?
Exactly. If you look at your organization, you've built an incredible organization. And what would you say are some of the sort of attributes of some leaders that you've built in your organization right now? So what makes a great leader in your firm?
I mean, there's many books and many of them behind me talking about that, isn't there? And time has been spent on it. I always think actually it comes back to one I read by Jack Welch some time ago, the sort of GE leader who spoke about the sort of three E's of leadership. And every time I sort of come back and think about that sort of question, it's never too far away from that. So he talked about energy, and I think if you look at leadership teams who really thrive and the people who people want to be around, it's someone there who can set the pace and set the tone and have that energy to inspire and inspire into the vision. And from that, he talks about energizers, people then who are there and spread that into it. There can be people who run around doing everything, but if it's not there to motivate and inspire and get people wanting to play at their absolute best every single day, I think that's a huge trait. And then he talks about the ability to execute. So, what I'm very lucky to have in this business around me is people who can take my crazy ideas left, right and centre and actually have the bit which I'm not the best in the world at, which is then taking it over and following through and making sure those things happen. So when you've got a team there that's got that dynamic alongside each other to make sure that where your strengths are, other people's pick up on your weakness, and where their weaknesses are, you've got that dynamism. I think looking at that and being very honest about what you're good at and what you're not good at is important, and how people can work together alongside that sort of steadfast belief. And I talk about our values, which include positivity, which include Kaizen and continuous improvement, which look at all those different bits and pieces to come together to constantly drive to make sure that everyone in the business is able to play at their absolute best consistently. Look, there's so many different traits to it. You could do a whole show just on that as a whole. It's a subject which I absolutely love. But I think that if you look at the Gallup polls about what creates a great workplace, there's a book called "It's the Manager," and it's that direct line and those people in there who can buy into that individual. And why do they buy into that individual? Because they care, because they're empathetic. Chirag, you mentioned trust a lot earlier on, and transparency and all those sort of things. And having spoken to people on this show now for 18 months, pretty much consistently, many times a week, that one of the core themes at the very best companies that you see is people there who communicate really well, who are very passionate about what they're doing and care absolutely about the people they're working with and for. And I think that thing of saying for as opposed to they work for me, rather I work for them is an important aspect of it too. Have I ticked any of your boxes on that one, Amrish?
It's incredible. I mean, it's almost like you've actually got into our heads and you've basically summarized without even really thinking about it. Many of the attributes that we think we've observed in the leaders that we've got in our firm. So you mentioned, execution. For us, it is so incredibly important for people to have this growth mindset. You've read that Carol Dweck book about growth mindset, but for us, what I think really differentiates our leaders is they look to grow their own teams. They take joy and pleasure out of their teams growing every single day. And so having that mindset of, I will do whatever it takes to deliver this for a client. We'll figure out a way. There's never a case where I can't do something. It's just we haven't figured out how to do it yet. And I think that's one of the key attributes that our teams have. Chirag, what would you say are some of the other attributes?
I guess, Amrish, for me, one of the most important, of course, there are a lot of the attributes. As Toby said, we can have a complete session just talking about the leadership. We say this as a paradox in leadership, that being a leader, you have to be confident, but at the same time, you have to be humble. Originally, we say CEO is Chief Executive Officer, but in the times to come, I would say the definition is going to change to Chief Empathy Officer. It's no more a Chief Executive Officer. And it's very important for leaders to understand that they are there to serve the people. Yeah. They are not there to command the people. So that's a very important point, that you want your leaders to be confident, but at the same time, you would want them to be very humble. And it's very easy to set them getting it done. So, you need to find that sweet spot of having confidence tempered with humility. And it's a journey. It just doesn't happen. You get up, okay, that I'm humble. It's a journey, and you need to constantly practice those principles in your day-to-day job. As we say, for a leader, it's very important to think of, it's not thinking less of yourself, it's thinking of yourself less. And the day you can understand this stuff, that's it. Your job is done as a leader. I mean, one of the aspects is ticked. Again, talking about empathy in this current unprecedented times, what we are going through, historically, we always have been talking about IQ.
Yeah.
But personally, I feel that more than ever, it's about EQ now.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's so much underrated, but it plays a huge, huge role in the success of a leader and an organization. It helps you to establish that bond. You need to read between the lines when you're establishing that connect with the people. You need to have those emotions while speaking to the people. I guess that's something, Amrish, what I personally feel is very important being a leader. But your thoughts, welcome.
Yeah, let me give you one real life example, Toby, which is something that's helped us across the globe. And it's something that's come out of India for us. As you know, India is strong on family and relationships. And effectively, every individual who works with us in India, they are there because their family, their husband, their wife, or their parents, have supported their decision to join Commcise. And one of the things that is not always appreciated by companies is the sacrifices those families make to allow those individuals to work with us. And so at Diwali time, once a year, Chirag started this, I think 2 years ago, where we give back to those families, right? We go and try and help those families understand why for their husband or their son or daughter has meant to us as a company. We do that publicly in front of all of those different family members to understand how important each of these individual team members are to us. It's not something that we've ever seen other firms do in India, but that idea that we are here because of lots of factors colliding together is really, really important for us, and making sure that we recognize that not just in India, but across the globe. We've taken those principles and then, applied them to other parts of the world as well to effectively build a stronger team.
I think that's so rare, isn't it? The sort of role of the family is so underrated around that, and those support mechanisms. And there's, I remember going over to LinkedIn once, and it was during their bring your parents to work day. So basically, rather than bring your kid to work day, they had to bring your parents in. So because they were doing things at that sort of stage which was so unprecedented, they wanted to make sure that everyone's parents who'd helped them get to that sort of stage understood actually what they were doing and how they were changing the world. And I thought that was brilliant. And actually, it's so rare to hear a company like yours then talk about that sort of stuff and recognize the value of it when it's so obvious actually when you look at it in terms of just how important that infrastructure is. Because look, a lot of us when we're building businesses spend an awful lot of time away from the family to make sure you're creating something from there. So I love that whole aspect of it. And I think going back to that EQ piece there, it's about making sure you really understand that, and I think the tailoring to the individual that we've seen these last couple of years has never been more important, which always sort of concerns me because I've got a postcode at home that ends in 0 EQ, so I'm not sure if it's a sign or anything like that, but I'm trying to work myself around it. All of this clear work that's been done to create a great team hasn't happened by accident, and by design you've created something that's absolutely thriving. A leadership team that's obviously spent a lot of time thinking about its people, thinking about its customers, thinking how do we create that great servant leadership aspect to building a great company. Those ingredients allow growth. And with growth comes challenge at various different stages, but also comes opportunity. Talk to me about growth and how you've driven growth through culture.
Well, I mean, as you probably know, December 2018, Euronext acquired a majority stake. They now own 100% of Commcise. And as part of a bigger group, when people talk about growth, it's too easy to just talk about top line revenue growth. When we think about growth, there's really three aspects. Obviously, top line revenue growth is clearly important. And in order to achieve top line revenue growth, we have to continue to innovate our product. We have to continue to satisfy the needs of our clients. We have to continue to be able to win new clients, add new products and services. But I think that's a given for us. But outside of that, seeing each of our teams grow, our employees grow, is, I think, even more important for me. I was always very fearful that as soon as we become part of Euronext, will our culture suffer? And we've been incredibly lucky to have an incredible partner in Euronext who, fully support the vision of what we're trying to do. There's so much work that's still undone yet. And so we still have so much more to do. Euronext are very supportive to help us continue to pump resources into the organization. I think we'll be doubling our teams over the next 3 years for sure. And that growth is going to come across the world, but a lot of that's going to come in India, which is why, we've set up Euronext Solutions to help build a function that can not only now service Commcise, but can help service any group company in the future. When any group company needs more capacity and needs the vision. Growing employees is not just about professionally growing, obviously helping each individual, mature in their sort of ability to add value into organizations, but it's also helping these individuals understand, as a group, we all understand that we are so blessed to be here right now. And if we don't take this opportunity to help those less fortunate around us, it's a wasted opportunity in our view. So we're trying to do more to help grow our individual communities around us as well. And this is not just a tick an ESG box that many firms have. This is about doing any small thing we can, as and when we can do it, to help those less fortunate around us, which I think is
again
incredibly
baked
important.
into the DNA of the business. When you're talking about empathy and understanding, you can see it's authentic, and I think authenticity is really important.
Yeah.
Chirag, I want to sort of turn to you. Look, this is exciting times for the business and the group as a whole. Amrish has just mentioned there about doubling in terms of headcount over the next couple of years, with a lot of that coming through from India. We know that traditionally that it's difficult to differentiate sometimes in that marketplace, but you guys are nailing that. Tell me a little bit about how you can be a sort of real rocket fuel for Indian talent, how you do differentiate, and what you're looking to do to add talent to the business over there in the next couple of years. About 16 questions for you to answer there in one.
That's quite a tough question as well. Yes, that what are we going to do to fuel the growth? It's very important for us to have those right people for the right seats. That's very important.
Yeah.
Unless you have that, you're gonna struggling to grow. And I believe whatever attributes we have talked about so far, that's definitely going to help us out, because we are really against some big names out there in this industry, and we have to do something different. That's where I guess we are on top of it. Personally, I feel that we are definitely on top of it. Amrish said that when we say that how we are growing, employee growth is a very important aspect. If you can pass on that confidence to your employees that yes, we are marrying your aspirations with the organization one, I do not see any good reason that why would they not want to stick with you? Why would they not want to grow with you? Why would they not want to partner with you in your journey? So definitely that's something what we're going to keep on doing. Amrish, any other point what you can think of?
Well, you might ask yourself, why did we take the team in India, which was originally called Commcise India, and now it's Euronext Solutions? Why did we do that? Well, we did that because we wanted to offer more opportunities to not only our teams who are there, but any new team members who join us in the future as well. So the opportunities are much, much greater now being part of the Euronext group than they ever have been as being part of a small 50-person Commcise software vendor. And as such, all we care about is hiring talent. We just care about working with the best people we can possibly find. And imagine how empowering it is for us, or imagine how fun it is to come to work. It doesn't actually feel like work when I know I'm the stupidest person in the company. Every single person around me is incredibly more talented than I am. And that's just amazing to work in that sort of environment where you're working with equally talented people in the organization, where ultimately all we're trying to do is improve 1% every day.
Yeah.
And if you improve 1% every day, you mentioned Kaizen earlier, but we talk about it in just incremental improvements. If we improve 1% every day, at the end of the year, we're three times better than we were at the start of the year.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's so important, isn't it? And coming back to that about people joining companies, we've looked at this when we were putting the report together for the top 1% workplaces. We looked at what technologists were looking for. We looked at what people were looking for in a great workplace. And I think that sort of ability to gain mastery was a significant part of it. there are big companies out there who are giving people segmented jobs, and there's prestige around working for that sort of environment. But when you actually think about what motivates you and what really pushes the needle further forward in your career, is where you're there and you're able to add value to a business, and you're able to be part of something, and you're making a difference, and at the same time really growing yourself and your career together. And I think that's what really differentiates you guys and is pushing you to the core of it. I kind of knew this would be one where I could be talking for hours and hours, so I'm always conscious of the buzzer sort of coming through on that for me. Amrish, I'll ask you one quick question to finish up. Give us something exciting that we can expect from Commcise in 2022.
We have so much new stuff in the pipe in terms of new software products, but also, Euronext Solutions, as we described earlier, we will be doubling in size next year. And that's going to be an incredible journey in itself, like trying to help my other fellow leaders in Euronext understand the value of leveraging a team of incredibly talented people in India. It is going to be quite fun to do. So we're really excited about that. But obviously, we've won some incredible clients this year. Some of the largest asset managers in the world, already use us, and more are gravitating towards our software. And so as they join, there's going to be an incredible rate of change in the software product, which will effectively benefit every one of our customers. So yeah, I think we're super excited about 2022.
Fantastic. And Chirag, for people who are wanting to be part of that journey, how best to get in touch with you?
So we're going to they can anytime go to the Euronext.com website, and we have a separate section over there. They can just express their interest on the web portal if they want to join us. And of course, we have openings being listed out there on the LinkedIn as well. So either one of the platform, they can just go and subscribe to their interest.
Fantastic. And look, by the sounds of it, it's going to be an absolute joy for them to to come in there and work with you. It's really, really exciting. And I wish you nothing but massive luck. Not that you need it for 2022. Thanks so much for coming on the show, to both of you. It was everything I hoped it could be, and a little bit more as well. And I hope everyone at home has enjoyed it as much as I have. Guys, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Toby.
Thank you, Toby, for having us here. Thank you.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you guys for watching. We will see you soon on another episode of FinTech Focus TV. Thanks a lot.